Coming up here at Circle Debate Podcast, episode 45, part 1. And ladies and gentlemen, as we will go ahead and recap AEW's Revolution that we just saw this past weekend. And of course, Mr. Callis here was, and we'll explain why. And also, we will recap AEW's Dynamite this past week, AEW news as well for part 1. And in part 2, we'll go ahead and discuss New Japan news, the update on the J-Cup, and the update for J-Cup USA. And also we'll discuss this past week's NXT. New titles? What's going on here? And new champions already. So don't go anywhere as episode 45, part 1 starts right now. Welcome everyone to the Circle Debate Podcast, but it's not also a Circle Debate, so make sure you turn your attention to Titantron, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a square of debate.
A square of debate in the Titantron. This is the deepest one I see here with my brothers from another mothers, the faction, the West to West.
Generation West.
Generation West. 30 Heels podcast. Shout out to our brothers, the League of Estrada podcast. So everybody introduce the director and director, the one and only Chris Kennedy with the 3D glasses.
Dude, bro, back to 3D.
That is right. And also we have the calluses of all calluses. I don't know where he's gone. Oh, there he is.
There they are.
There they are.
He's not allowed to do the voice without the glasses, or we don't know.
Exactly.
Well, if that's what it is, if the soul remains in the glasses, but come here with an empty cup. Be prepared for what I'm about to show you, of course, is what I've said.
You're getting better.
You're getting better at it in this creepy man.
Come with an empty cup when you listen to Circle of Debate podcast. Have your mind open to what we're about to show you.
There's something you said last night on Dynamite, and I'll get to it when we get there, but
of course, we took it away. We took it away from you, Eddie Kingston.
Every week, there's a line of the night that's spoken on AEW. Every week, there's like a crazy good line. And there's one that you laid down last night, bro.
We took it away.
I can't wait to bring it up, dude. It's so
took it away.
So
the god of professional wrestling took it away from you. We don't make a podcast, Ivan. We make history.
That's right. That is MGC.
Hello, Anthony. I see you also possess glasses.
Yes.
And as MGC Matthew Steamboat, ladies and gentlemen, today, we are joined by
whatever your viewing time zones are. It's all
exactly.
Good. We're not exactly live.
We are joined by one of my brothers from another mothers from the League of Estrada podcast. So make sure, ladies and gentlemen, you turn your head to the Titantron, and we're joining the host of the Titantron podcast, and that is our brother Anthony. How are you, brother?
Hello. I am so glad to be on here finally. Been watching all your episodes and really just wanted to come on here, and especially with what we're about to be talking about, partake in the Circle of Debate. So I'm looking forward to it, and let's get right down to business.
That is right, and we are honored and privileged that you're joining us today. Man, much love for you, but I'm glad.
Thank you. That goes right back.
I appreciate you. What a weekend of sports, I would say. If you guys did catch our MMA episode.
Like all of them, sports and sports entertainment.
And sports entertainment, especially that.
We just did a 2-hour on the UFC 259 yesterday or 2 days ago, man.
Yeah, 2 days ago, definitely. So, AEW Revolution. Now it's time for you guys to hear our thoughts about it. So I'll go ahead and ask our guest, Mr. Anthony Titantron. Give us your thoughts overall throughout the pay-per-view. What do you grade it out of 1 out of 10? What do you give it overall the pay-per-view? And what were your thoughts about it?
Man. So I usually don't watch AEW pay-per-views like the full way through. I'll watch like the highlights and something. I've only watched 2 in my time of being a fan of AEW. One was Full Gear of last year, which was easily one of the best shows that I've seen. The other one was AEW Revolution of this year. I can't say that it was a terrible show. You know, I gave it like a 7 just because I wasn't feeling a lot of the matches. I feel like You know, there were a lot of matches that had some story going into them, but a lot of them really didn't. And I felt like it wasn't really filler on the card, but it just felt like a lot of stuff that, you know, I was trying to get to the more intriguing stories and the intriguing matches. So it was kind of just dragging along, you know, and we'll talk about some of those matches as we go along. But, you know, overall, I think it had some really great action, pretty good stories overall. You know, there were some obvious blunders on the card, which, oh man.
We'll get to those for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk all about the fire marshals, you know, cutting down the budget a little bit, but you know, we'll talk about that. But you know, overall, it was a pretty decent show. It wasn't the greatest show that I've ever seen. Like I said, I'll give it a 7, you know, around a 6 or a 7. But yeah, I mean,
Really
we'll go
good.
more into. Yeah, we'll go more into detail, but I just really wasn't feeling it, especially when you have like a big, you know, you don't really have a lot of AEW pay-per-views that you watch every year. It's not like they're putting out 12 a month. So I feel like these shows need to be a lot bigger. And I don't know, this one really just didn't deliver for me. I don't know how you guys are feeling, but.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with the director, the one and only. What are your thoughts overall before we even jump into some of the matches?
7 is generous for someone who I don't know your reasons for not catching as many AEW pay-per-views. Maybe it's not interest in the brand, or you just your timing, or
A little of both, yeah.
Okay. I'm yeah, by far was not even double or nothing or all or nothing. It was definitely 7. Like I said, is generous. I would have, if I would have rated, I'd say 5.5. I went into this at the Go Home show last week with all the questions that we had lined up, ready for all of the answers to be answered. And almost none of them were answered at Revolution. But to be fair, a lot of them were answered the following Dynamite, which we'll get into. There were some angles that have hopefully finally ended that may not have overstayed their welcome, but just became less interesting. They should have been. There's one particular angle that's still going that needs to be done with, and that's the Chuck Taylor Rusev. Miro, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why I brain farted on that one. That needs to be done with, and that needs to culminate in this. They're doing like a lumberjack match, but the lumberjacks are arcade machines. You can't top that as far as that storyline goes. That needs to be the end of it. The Matt Hardy thing, hopefully they moved on. They brought in, we'll talk about on Dynamite, the new members of the Matt Hardy party, whatever the name of that clique is going on. Mm-hmm. The Adam Page Dark Order thing, still a big question mark on over it. Still a big, we don't know if he's in or if he's out, if he's going to be the new leader, if he's going to go against them, if they're going to go serious or keep doing this campy comedy ministry gimmick, which I'm kind of not into. I liked it when they were evil, messing things up, kind of just being the Dark Order, not the dark comedy gimmicks. The cinematic match between Sting, Darby Allin, and then Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, fantastic. Holy shit. If anything can be said about what the WWE has done in the past couple of years, is definitely set the precedent for cinematic matches. We know that the Boneyard match, I think, was match of the year somewhere. I think at PWI. And AEW straight up stole that concept, and that's fine because you get good ideas from good ideas. This was crazy. This was literally like watching The Crow without the guns.
Yeah, pretty much.
You go back and watch the third act of the original Brandon Lee version of The Crow. The climactic scene where he's up in the window, they're playing My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. How do you feel? I feel like a little worm on a big fucking hook. That scene, he backflips, he's shooting through the church, take out the guns. That's what that was. I thought that was awesome. It was very Sting, very Darby Allin, the face paint. Mm-hmm. They doubled up the face paint. Darby did the coffin drop from 35 floors to the floor. Pretty cool. Still has one question for me that was not covered or answered. We'll see what happens on the next Dynamite. Whether or not Sting and Darby, I still think that can be a thing where Sting turns heel on Darby. Still think it's possible.
You're still hoping for that. You and Kofi are the only two that are hoping for that.
I'm honestly hoping for it too.
I think it's
to have something different.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move. I did say it was going to happen at Revolution. It didn't happen, but I still think it is possible. But they did not appear together on the Dynamite following. Sting did talk about Darby Allin for a quick second, then he moved on to I forget what.
Yeah.
Right behind Matt, right there, we got Maki Ito and Britt Baker. We have a new Ito Respect Army, which is Maki, Britt, Nyla, Vicky Guerrero, and Rebel Don't Call Me Reba. The reason I call it the Ito Respect Army is because they were all wearing black and red. They were the Wolfpack. They all had matching outfits, so that was not a coincidence. You saw it on the Dynamite following. They were working as a unit, not a successful unit, but a unit nonetheless.
All right.
That is a highlight right there. What else can we talk about, man? I'm just going to run through the whole card, just get it out of the way, make it easy for you guys.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, Scorpio Sky. Used to train with the guy. Now he's one of the best in the business. Super proud of him. Solid win. We'll talk about what happened at Dynamite, which I think everybody was waiting for and kind of expected. What else we got? Yeah, the Kip Steven thing, man. Kip Steven had the best outfit of the year. Goddamn. His outfit was so fire that it makes me want to go back and wrestle just to rip off that outfit. His pants, it was like black and purple. Like, yeah. Oh my God, the homie is good. Good sense of fashion for sure. And Ray Phoenix beat Jungle Boy in the 6v6 trios tag team.
It was a casino. It was a tag team.
Yeah, it was like their battle royale.
Ray Phoenix and Pox, they got a title shot against. Which we'll talk about.
If you were a fan and you know Ray Phoenix, but he's not in your list of favorite wrestlers, what he did at Revolution and then what he did to Matt Jackson on the following Dynamite, elevated the shit out of him. I knew he could wrestle. I knew he was great. I've been following his career, but they are pushing him to be a future star, maybe even a single star. Keep him in Death Triangle, but also keep him solo right now because we know that his brother Pentagon is going after Cody, which is its own can of worms I can't wait to get into. And then the main event. I didn't know the details of what happened. It was a great match. I won't say match. It was a great fight up until whatever happened. Anthony, you told me right now that the fire marshal literally just limited the amount of what could happen. Is that what
apparently that's what Tony Khan, one of his excuses was that he literally said, well, the fire marshal can only let us do so much. Meanwhile, here's Cody Rhodes coming out with millions upon millions of fireworks a night.
Yeah,
so,
it's a good point. Like the pyro itself is probably much more. I mean, I don't know if it's because it's 30, there's like a regulation, like it has to be 30 feet away from the crowd, and the ring is, only 7 feet away from the crowd. That might have something to do with it. Mm-hmm. They obviously probably have different regulations than what WWE can do, because they can obviously do the Shawn Michaels entrance and the Kane fire, which is right ringside. Man, they are trying to hide behind that as a botch, though. They're trying to write that into the storyline. And the only saving grace, and we'll get into it, was that Eddie Kingston promo on Dynamite, who is the best mic man in the history of the business. There's a running joke amongst podcasters right now is that Eddie Kingston does not know this is fake. He shoots from the hip. Everything seems like it's bullet pointed but improvised at the same time. And the way that Moxley knew to just chime in just enough to get some words in but let Eddie run with it is the perfect dichotomy between the two. And the fact that Moxley isn't gone like we thought. We thought he was going to go, he might go home soon, take care of, Renee, or that's her real name, right? Yeah, that's her real first name. Cool. Yeah. So if that's going to happen, it hasn't happened yet. We thought he was going to go out with a bang and then go home, take care of his kid and wife, which is totally fair. Right. They're trying to write that underwhelming major explosion into the storyline. They're doing the best they can. If it was a legal issue, not exactly their fault. Maybe they oversold it and expected what they could do. I don't know how late in the game the fire marshal, if that's what happened, came in and said, we need to take out 90% of these fireworks. That might have been a day of thing if it's a true story.
Well, a lot of excuses were given that day, honestly. Like it was a work, it was this, it was that. So who really knows the full story? But that was one of them. And honestly, I'm kind of believing it a little bit just because of, it's not like, one side of the ring wasn't blown up or the fireworks didn't go off on a certain, like from what I saw, it was fully around the ring. From,
it was a synchronized 4 little puffballs.
So none of them,
half of them went big, half of them went small, like a botch. It was
like they all went off.
Well, if that's what we want to call it, they all.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got more dangerous fireworks down the street. It is the one setback. I don't even want to call it a setback. It is the one thing that people can harp on. It is kind of their tightest world slide of AEW right now. But to be fair, it is the one thing they have that people can't harp on and be like, oh, look at them. They did this blunder. This is their big botch. Like, okay, they have one after like 16 months. Like, whoop the F and do, man. Like, it's not the gobbledygooker. So
Hector Guerrero was behind the fireworks the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It was me, Austin. It was me. But overall, you said a 7. That's very generous. I think, you know, the 5.5 is cool. There have been definitely better. Even the previous Revolution was better.
Yeah.
But when we get to Dynamite made up for a lot of what was left.
Yeah,
of the player.
definitely.
And we'll get into that after we let Ivan and Matt talk about the Revolution card as well.
Well, I'm gonna let Mr. MGC Flanders. The buy-in. I know. I messaged him and I'm like, okay, these went ape shit. I know you went crazy, but go ahead.
So somebody else posted this on Twitter.
I sent that to you right there. Someone else posted it. I didn't take it.
No, not the news of it, because I watched it. But somebody else said this on Twitter about Maki Ito's appearance at Revolution. You know, every other match could have been Judy Bagwell on a forklift, and I would still give Revolution a 9.5.
Wait, what was the most recent one? It was Chuck Taylor's mom in the van? That was the new Judy Bagwell gimmick. Oh my god!
But if every match on the Revolution card was Judy Bagwell on a forklift and Maki Ito was like still showed up, I'd still give it a 9.5. Just because Maki Ito alone is my reason for giving it a 9.5. And you know, I've got actually a very special name for the group, because you were saying what, the new Ito Respect Army. You know,
I love the name. Respect Army is awesome, but if you got something better,
that's from Japan. Yeah, that's what you call. And then the Neo Ito Respect Army is Maki Ito and Chris Brooks.
Yeah.
You know, another person I hope.
They look like Lady Baby. I love it. If you guys watch or listen to like offshoots of like J-rock metal pop stuff, like Baby Metal,
Lady Baby.
Band called Lady Baby, where it's one idol and then a 7-foot white dude with pigtails and a skirt. It's
Chris Brooks kind of has just like
good.
short.
It's hilarious.
He's got like short colored hair, but Chris Brooks is said to be like, he could be like the next Kenny Omega, because he's like a foreigner in DDT who's really good and amazing at what he does. You know, he was tagging with Maki Ito. He was the former DDT champion as well. But this group, I've kind of like a play on words, some kind of like undisputed era, undisputed Maki, just because of Britt Baker and Adam Cole. Maki Ito, baby. Baby.
Oh,
you know?
my God.
And now Adam Cole's part of he's now either like a stepdad, he's like Otosan or something, you know, to Maki Ito. He's part of
he's Maki's young boy.
Yeah, he's Maki's young boy now. He's been adopted into the family. Like, I can't wait to see Britt Baker, Maki Ito, and Adam Cole like all eating at a restaurant together and just joking around.
Adam Cole is elite.
Adam Cole is Ito. So this is a big moment for J-pop music, though, being heard on an American programming, because for a while,
especially a live performance.
Yeah,
both their own the whole song.
Yeah, and it's by her group Tokiwokaru, and their Tokiwokaru is from Fukuoka, Japan. So I was kind of hoping
you want to move there.
Yeah, so I'm kind of hoping in the coming weeks,
I pay attention to my brothers.
And I'm hoping in the coming weeks that they actually announce Maki Ito as from Fukuoka, and kind of putting that, because Justin Roberts always announced Rihos from Shinagawa City, and then, you know, with Yuka Sakazaki it's Southtown, and I forgot what city that Ryo Mizunami is from. She's amazing. One of the things I hope they do with Ryo Mizunami is bring her in on one of those, like, if she's gonna go over, I want her to come on one of those decorated Japanese trucks that lights up with all the sparklers and stuff like that. Just bring in more of that.
Don't get your head up on sparklers in AEW.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Very different. We took.
Oh, no,
you're expecting an eruption. You see, what we do is we take things away from you. We take it away from you. We have an eruption. We made you look like idiots, Eddie.
Dude,
but
I can't wait to get into that.
It's you know, like, we'll get into that when we talk about Dynamite. So are we gonna go, Ivan? Are we gonna go match by match, or are we? Just
I want Ivan to talk about Revolution, and then there's one more thing I want to bring up about Revolution, then we can move on. But let Ivan take away, brother. I don't want to forget the host. Someone's got to host the host.
I'm just letting you guys speak, man. I mean, I love to hear you guys anyway. So, I mean, I love it.
No worries, man. But you're important as well, I promise.
But look, overall, this pay-per-view, I have to give it I'll give it like a fair 8. Why? Because the ending.
The highest score out of all of us is the fair.
No,
one.
I gave it a 9.
No,
Matt give it a 9.
But 90% of that was Maki, and that's
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
that was in
that's all
the
you
main
need.
card. All he needs is the opening shot. I didn't even know that they did like
Maki
pre-show.
showed up for the Ryo Mizunami to do a run in, and she was biting
Right.
Mizunami's
Yeah, so
fingers.
she did get screen time, which I loved.
Yeah, she did. But like I said, the fact is, obviously, the ending was horrible. So that's the only thing. I like the fact how
And just the last like 2 minutes, the match itself was fucking fire. Like,
The match.
The women's match is more than enough to like really. I'd say Hikaru Shida and Ryo Mizunami. That's like a New Japan like level of like long like strong style match with a lot of great spots.
Right.
You know, that's more like that's more than enough for it to go over. Like along with like 1 or 2 of the other matches on the card. I wasn't really that crazy about like Orange Cassidy and Miro.
I did not care for that at all.
Yeah,
But
it's fun.
mentioned,
it's fun, of course.
Yeah,
Sure.
you mentioned the Ryo Mizunami match, and it was like I was trying to get into it the whole time, but I just didn't feel like they had enough story for what was presented. The thing is, they had a huge story going in. It's just they didn't present it properly. If they had another week to really tell the story between the two, I had no idea of anything that happened between them until I watched the buy-in and I saw the high package. There was a whole story that like has gone over years that no one really knew about. So, you know, to really see this, and they didn't really play into that as much as they could have in the match. I don't know. I couldn't really get into it. I thought the match itself was good. I think it was a slow build into a pretty good finish overall. But I don't know. I just wasn't getting into it just because I didn't know of the history behind it. And that's why, like, you know, story in wrestling is so important, because you could have the greatest match in the world, but if there's nothing to care about, then why should we be caring about it? You know what I mean?
I guess they could have shown some like past clips with Ryo and Hikaru, you know, with their past matches together. You know, granted,
the thing with Maki and Thunder Rosa feud, they only briefly mentioned it when
during the
spoiler
match.
alert, Thunder Rosa pinned Maki, and they go, "Oh, by the way, Thunder Rosa beat her a year ago." I'm like, the casuals or the new people, not even casuals, the active fans who just aren't in on the West or the Eastern culture of wrestling don't know that, and maybe they should, or you know, I don't, because they are definitely continuing the storyline, bringing it up.
It was a big like emotional match where Maki was crying and her hair was like undone. Like, I've never been defeated like this before, you know, and now she's getting her payback. And
Did not. Yeah,
We'll go get into that, but yeah, like overall, look, that's why I give it fair. It's a fair, 8. The fact, because it's the ending part. Overall, I do agree with you, Andy, about that storyline with the women's championship. That does make sense because there's no build up to it. It wasn't a hype to it. So a lot of the viewers in the States, especially, are not familiar with, Ryo Mizunami only until upon this tournament and prior last year before. So they're not really familiar with this plot. What's the story about? So that's very understandable. I agree with you 100% on that one. That's where they kind of messed up on that, on the women's side, most definitely.
And all kudos that they're bringing them in. So that's also right there.
Yeah,
But the storyline, like, the storylines exist, and that's why they're putting these matches together.
Yeah.
So they're bringing the storyline over, but they're not talking about it. It's like bringing the thread without the sweater.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing as well that obviously we did see Scorpio Sky winning the brass ring. Okay, that's a throw out.
The Sonic the Hedgehog ring.
Just wanted to throw that out. That was like a straight towards WWE, towards Vince McMahon. The brass ring.
Yeah.
Brass ring.
So I mean, that's like what I got to like. Okay,
they're not belts. Belts hold up your pants. They're titles. You see.
Yeah, it's not a match or whatever the fuck the rules are. I read the whole script about what not to say.
But here's the other 2 things that I want to go ahead and touch bases though, because I'm going to go ahead and move this forward as possible. Now, within that pay-per-view, we had 2 appearances. Now, on the ladder match, a lot of people We said it last week as well. We all thought it would be Rob Van Dam. Even Anthony and I said that.
I'd stick by what I wanted. What I wanted
Yeah.
didn't happen, and it didn't happen hard. And I was just wishful thinking. I don't know if Anthony saw my prediction, but it was supposed to be the two signees. One was Hall of Fame worthy, and the other, they just didn't say what it was. It was supposed to be, in my opinion, they didn't do it. Zelina Vega or Thea Trinidad comes out. She goes, "I'm the new signee, but I'm not the Hall of Famer." Aleister Black comes out. He's in the ladder match.
Damn, that would have been
the sweetest fucking thing of all time. My predictions are mostly fan fictions and wishful thinking to the nth degree. But if those were the two signees, I would have been pretty stoked. But I was wrong.
Been great.
But so I want to go ahead and just talk about it. Let's touch with Ethan Page first.
The ego.
I'll go back to you, Anthony. What are your thoughts, and what do you see his future now that he's fully signed with AEW?
I mean, I think he's, it's not like a groundbreaking announcement or anything. I think it's Ethan Page.
There's no holy shits out of that at all.
Yeah, I think for both signings, and we'll get to the, Hall of Fame worthy signing, I think they hyped it up a lot. And, when you hype it up to that degree, you have to deliver. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this was a safe pick overall. But I think it was a safe pick in a way that it was still a really good pick. I think Ethan Page is perfect for AEW, regardless of what he does. Wish he would have been showcased a little more in the ladder match, and wish he would have been showcased a little better on Dynamite, but defense in the crowd. But what are you going to do over that? But I just wish, wish he would have been presented a little bit better, but I like the signing. I think Ethan Page, like I said, fits perfectly. What they'll do with him, I couldn't tell you. I mean, they're bringing him right now. It seems like, are they booking him as a face or a heel? I don't really know. It's probably just a feeling out process right now.
He's getting cheered because he's new.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, I think they'll, they should keep him heel, just because obviously he does his best work when he's heel. Yes. And not to fall in the trap of turning him face because the fans like him, just definitely. Better off just keeping him a heel. I think he'll be solid in the mid card, maybe challenge Darby. I don't see him anywhere near like the world title unless they book him properly to be in the world title picture. But yeah, he's a good presence overall. Hopefully he doesn't, get put on dark like a lot of the signings that we've hoped for to be a little bit more. And instead now we're seeing them on Tuesdays. But I think the future's bright for him. So it's still very early to really say where he's going to go from here. But as far as I'm concerned right now, I'm perfectly fine with Ethan Page.
Awesome. Definitely. I agree with you because as long as he doesn't bring that Karate Kid, no.
Oh,
we don't want to see that. Yeah. Don't bring that. That's the reason why he left Impact in the first place, not resign
exactly
with him because of that reason. It is an unfortunate that the breakup between him and his former partner, the North, they were a great tag team. I wanted to see them in FTR, but it's fine. Everybody, you still have it because cross promotion, Impact, AEW, why not?
Yeah,
definitely. So you got MGC. Ethan Page, talk to me, baby.
I think it's just like what you do with the microphone is really, what I want for like more people with AEW. I'm always going to ask this of just about everybody is more microphone time. That's really, with the recent episode of Dynamite that we'll get into, I did get what I want from the microphone time, but we definitely need more. But Ethan, Ethan, as long as he gives more microphone time, because I could see like. I don't think he's British, but he kind of gives the vibe of like a snobby British guy kind of. I like that kind of. I think we need that kind of like snobby British soccer player douchebag to kind of like go up against some really cool like ninja.
It reminds me of like before like Big Papa Pump style Steiners, like the varsity style.
Yeah,
like,
a little bit of that.
Do good or heel, if that makes any sense. Like I'm really good at stuff, so that makes me the bad guy.
You're okay. I get it. Mm-hmm. All right, yeah. So, CK1, go ahead.
I mean, that's pretty much it. With the Ethan Page thing, I don't think if you look at any podcast or review show or preview show or prediction show, he was on their list. Obviously,
well, no, George McKay got it right.
My fucking Christ, are you serious?
Straight talk wrestling.
He's so good, dude.
Him and his daughter, the mini host, they got it right. They guessed Ethan Page in the ladder match, so they got.
I did have him as one of my predictions, but I also said RVD as like my safe pick because I really wanted to see the whole fucking show. But
Me
you know,
too, yeah.
RVD is great with ladder matches.
Yeah, of course,
Already great with
everything.
Everything. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
it's RVD.
He's one of those wrestlers. He's a wrestler. He's like a hardcore wrestler or fan. Like he's not a casual. I want to say casuals. I don't mean that in the MMA sense where it's like an armchair quarterback who's like, we should have gone for a head kick. I'm eating Cheetos.
Mm-hmm.
Not that. I mean like just people that just don't pay as much attention as we do.
Right.
If you don't pay that much attention, you don't know who Ethan Page is.
Mm-hmm.
You probably don't even know what Impact is anymore because you're like, that's still a thing. What happened to TNA? So him to come over, there wasn't a holy shit moment, but it was a safe bet. He is a consummate performer. You're going to get quality matches out of him. I don't know, like what Anthony said. I don't know where they're going to put him, who he's going to feud with. Definitely mid card. If he's a heel, maybe have him go against like Dustin Runnels for a little bit or something like that. You know, someone who he can beat, but not squash. Someone who could maybe even carry him a little bit with experience. There's a lot of places he can go right now if he goes heel. There's a lot of places he can go if he goes face too. We'll get to it, like the Scorpion Sky thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he's definitely going to be sitting. Hopefully, like if an AEW Dynamite card is broken up into 50%, like 30 minutes and 30 minutes, he's sitting somewhere at the 27 mark. Yeah, he's going to be right under the halfway mark for now before he breaks into the 45-minute. But not like Anthony said, going heavyweight title anytime soon. No. We already know we got like 2 people lined up for that already, which is good. Yeah. There's like a year storyline before we probably even get a new champ. Definitely. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just
the one thing that I do like about the Ethan Page signing is that although we don't know where he's going to fit in, face, heel, he could really do anything. Like he has just that presence about him that he's just a natural at this. And also he has the look. So, he's good on TV. And for a casual fan, when you see someone like Ethan Page, that he has that presence about him and he just has the physique of like a wrestler, you can get behind him as either a heel or a face. You want to cheer him, you want to boo him, however they present him. So I think this is a really good signing for them. It's just what they do with him and how they go forward with him.
Yeah. Definitely.
I agree with that. Even though Tony Khan and his family, with all due respect, have all the money in the world, This is a safe financial investment. This isn't Brock money or the CM Punk money.
No.
And then it fails and then they're out, 7 digits or more, God willing. Financially a safe bet, but also will probably pay off on a longer timeline when they settle where he's going to land.
Are we going to talk about Christian Cage, or are we going to go with something else first?
That's actually going to happen right now.
That's what I'm going to do right now. But before we actually mention Christian Cage, I just want to say about Ethan Page. I've seen him live perform before, seen him in, met him in person. He's a great athlete. He is underrated, in my opinion. He did bring a lot towards Impact, especially as a tag team. So this future is going to be bright. And like Anthony said, I agreed. He can do anything he wants right now. And right now it's a fresh start. And you have the creativity that you have that you're able to control and just go anywhere you want with it and run with it.
Yeah, diversity.
Yeah. Precisely. Now, yes, Christian Cage. Everybody thought, Anthony and I did say Brock Lesnar. I said it last week. I said Brock Lesnar, damn it.
I just kept saying it to try to speak it into existence, but to no avail.
Manifest destiny.
Exactly. There you go.
Right? But it was Christian Cage. And I want to go.
Was he on anybody's prediction list?
No.
I think I actually, because, I wasn't sure what the WWE situation was.
Yeah.
But, Ivan, may I?
Floor is yours.
All right. So I think the biggest thing I'll say overall is, because of, Chris, that's why I asked you about like the cardio of Brock Lesnar, just the whole them talking about him getting blown up and not wanting to do long matches.
Right.
Overall, I'd say you get better quality matches out of Christian Cage than you do Brock Lesnar. Brock's too much of like that finish spamming matches between Drew McIntyre and Brock was.
But where that matters is when it comes down to the money coming in.
Yeah.
So more people are absolutely going to tune in to watch a 2-minute squash match with Brock than a 15-minute Legends match with Christian.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are just facts.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not that's what the fans want or what AEW wants for their product comes down to, well, they obviously have Christian now, Which
But what it comes down to is I mean, it's going to alienate a lot of like Kenny's fans for something like that. If it's going to be Kenny versus Kenny jobbing to Brock or something like that, or yeah, you could see, yeah, if it's like Kenny Omega jobbing to Brock, or Brock wanting, let me think of what else. Like it wouldn't be a good return on investment, because you might get something like that. Or
Brock smashing Wardlow. That's my finisher, girl.
Yeah, a lot of other things.
Like
Yeah, but I don't think you would have gotten that though, because Anthony, we did discuss this when we went live. See, that will have to change. And Mike said it too last week. It can't be that the beast incarnated like you had a WWE run in AEW. No, you're gonna lose some matches. You're not gonna be a powerhouse. No, you're gonna respect.
I think if they want him to sign on the dotted line, they're gonna do whatever the F he says.
That is true too. But you also have to think, don't really undersell Brock Lesnar in the ring. We've seen just recently matches with Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles. He could go in the ring. So yeah. I just don't think he would fit.
He lost almost more than half of his last, I'd say.
Yeah, the last few WrestleManias he's lost in title matches.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just don't think he would have fit in the roster. Like, I think it's better off for WWE because you have stars there that they could go up against Brock and they could actually, not really
realistically beat him.
Yeah, realistically beat him. I would love to see like Kenny Omega versus Brock Lesnar, but like if you were to tell a casual fan, who would you pick between these two? Who do you think they're going to go with?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I think the other, I don't know enough about how Brock works in terms because Christian's known for being a very safe, like smooth worker, like somebody who you could trust it. Like if you're an injured person, you could wrestle him.
Yeah,
that's where I learned the whole, Christian having this like being a loose worker handshake type thing.
That is a real thing. I brought that up with Slice Boogie, and he didn't know what I was talking about. And I'm not saying that he doesn't know what I'm talking about. I think
some people use it.
Within certain cultures or circles of pro wrestling, backstage etiquette. Mm-hmm. Hey, my name's Chris. We're going to be wrestling tonight. The firmer the handshake, the stiffer the match, the looser the handshake, the more relaxed the match. I was taught that, and I've been scared shitless ever since to make sure not to have a stiff handshake. But when I brought it up to another, indie wrestler, it definitely has to be, I think, certain circles, certain glitches.
Chris, I bring that up because, like, I guess it could be a negative return on investment if Brock injures some of the roster in the process. So it's like
he's not really known to do. I mean, he hurts himself more. I mean, obviously that shooting star press, the Randy Orton thing was a work, which is insane that Randy probably took a fat stack of cash just to say yes to that.
I'm pretty sure he got paid an extra bonus for that.
I don't understand why he said yes to that, but it is what it is.
So
but yeah, as far as injuries go, Brock isn't Ryback.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There, I said it.
All right.
That's good. So overall, like Christian, what I'm getting is that Christian and Kenny could have a very great classic match, just because these are two great workers from Canada, and
yes, his cardio is. If I used his MMA career, which I'm very well, familiar with, it's good. His cardio is fine. He's never lost because he's gassed. Whether or not that translates into pro wrestling ring, probably. I think when he does look gassed or tired, it's obviously just a work. Like when The Undertaker limped out of WrestleMania and fell right before he got to the gorilla position. Everyone's like, oh no, Undertaker's old. He's falling apart. He should retire. No, that's a work, bro.
It's more, yeah.
What do you think?
Protecting kayfabe.
He dropped to one knee, like 1 foot before the darkness. That was on purpose. So, yeah. Right. But to go the speed of Kenny Omega, I think Kenny can slow it down a little bit. Like Kenny can go from 10 to 7, and Brock can go from 5 to 6, and that'd be a fine pace.
Okay. Yeah.
See, I've seen what Kenny does with Moxley in just like regular wrestling matches and telling the story. I like somebody who could help Kenny create something classes. I think they could get a really good high quality match overall, him and Christian, and it's like I think those are Kenny facing any of the recent Canadian greats would be good ones to cross off the bucket list. I don't know if how Edge is going to be doing in a little bit, but
yeah.
And since we're on that subject of we now know that it is absolutely Kenny and Christian having a feud for the belt right off the bat. When they announced that it was Christian Cage, again, it wasn't an oh shit moment per se. It was a no shit moment because they got a huge name who we just saw just a couple months ago in WWE.
Yeah.
And Christian is a great worker. His shirt has outworked everyone. That's awesome. He definitely grinded his way to get to that title. I mean, he was definitely Edge's sidekick for 15 years, even in the Indies. Having to work against Vince's preconceived notions about him, which is the reason he didn't like Christian, is beyond fucked up. But when I'm not, I didn't go, oh wow, that's going to be a lot of crazy matches with the AEW roster. I wasn't thinking immediately of who would be cool, or like I didn't think of Christian's in-ring abilities as something that excited me. Especially against Kenny Omega. I never once ever fantasized about a Kenny Christian match. You know what I'm saying? Like I fantasized about Kenny and AJ again, Kenny and Finn, Kenny and Brock would have been kind of crazy. But Christian's name never came up as someone who I thought could do that. So it's going to be really interesting to see his pace against someone like Kenny. And I'm not trying to underestimate Christian at all, because obviously he's a world champion against some of the best in the world. Mm-hmm. But I've never put him as someone who could do anything better than a 5 or 6 star out of 10, out of 5 or 6 out of 10 star match.
Mm. Yeah. All right, Anthony, your thoughts about Christian?
Well, I was watching it, getting ready for whoever was going to come out, and I didn't really know who to expect at this point. It was probably either going to be like Kurt or someone around that level, and then I see Christian Cage on the Titantron, and all I hear in the back of my head is Todd Grisham just saying, "It's Christian." And that's kind of the vibe I was getting. But then, it kind of just fell into play. Like, it is Christian. Like it's not like a huge signing that a lot of people were really hoping for. Like, we mentioned Brock. A lot of people were throwing out crazy fucking ideas like Punk, Cena. I was like,
yeah,
it's not.
Cena and Punk with The Rock was definitely a forefront. And
yeah,
like, a lot of people
I just didn't understand it. My 2 picks were Kurt and Christian, just because those were as big of Hall of Fame worthy caliber people that you could get without going too crazy. So
I also thought it would be Paul White himself. It was going to be in the ladder match. That's what
I was a little nervous that Paul White was going to be the Hall of Fame signing. Just that I felt like that was something that they would do. Oh, he's the heel commentator on Elevation.
Remember, he debuted in WWE in a ladder match.
Oh yeah,
that is very true. Austin off the top, and yeah.
No, it was a cage match.
No, that was a cage match. Came through the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yeah, he threw him to the cage, and then he.
Yeah,
but it was still Austin, right? It was like he was Vince's henchman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anthony, I won't rule out Cena. I don't know if you saw the episode where I kind of like draw the parallels.
I did, and that was a stretch. I mean, it was a good stretch, but it was a stretch. Cena he's a WWE guy. Like, I know that term is loose now after Paul White, but like, I feel like there's a difference there. Cena's been the face of the company for like, who knows how long now. So, there's a little bit of a difference.
Hulk was the face of the company, but then again, there wasn't like a steroid scandal.
Yeah.
Again, that's like the other thing because of the steroid scandal in '95.
Breaking the fourth wall there, Matt.
Yeah. but pipe bomb. Whatever was going on in around the time of John Cena leaving, because I mean him and Vince are still pretty chummy from what I hear.
Vince or Hogan and Vince?
Cena and Vince. But
I never thought they were not chummy.
What Cornette says about Vince is that he's okay with anybody like a prodigal son, like no matter how badly they screw him over, because he has an inferiority complex. Like, come home to daddy, it's okay.
Dude, even Brett came back, and I still what the f.
Come home to daddy, Brett. It's okay. Have a brownie.
That was one of the
have a brownie.
The whole Hart family came back. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Come back.
I started watching wrestling around the time that Bret Hart came back. And that was around like, I started watching like 2009, 2010. I had no idea how impactful that was. And it's like, now I look at it 10 years later, I'm like, fucking Bret Hart came back to this guy. Oh my God. But sorry, getting back on the Christian topic, I'm okay with it. I think, like I said, it was as big of a signing that you could get. And once I saw Kurt Angle post that video on his Twitter, I was like, okay, well, it's not him. So I think, I didn't really have any other predictions at that point. I figured it was either going to be Christian or it was going to be a troll by Paul White. So, I wouldn't be surprised. So I think Christian is the perfect guy for this spot just because he is the type of guy that fits in almost perfectly with this roster. It'll give a rub to other guys that he puts over or has matches with. He's going to have good matches with other people. I don't know if putting him in the match with Kenny right away is the way to go. Just because, I take that logic from WWE and I have to apply it here. Bringing a part-timer in for a championship match right off the bat is a little bit not my, cup of tea, if you will. But that's not to say that it's not going to be a good match. It's obviously going to be at least 4 stars, 3.5 to 4, depending on how, with everything with Christian stamina and stuff like that. But, I think it's going to be a good run for him. I'm happy that he's getting this final run to really, just put him at a spot where he's happy to whenever he retires. Ultimately, he'll have a good final run with AEW. I think there's a lot of things that you could do with him. And as long as, he's up for it, then the possibilities are endless for him. So I don't know what exactly they're going to do with him. I guess, maybe putting him with Kenny was a smart idea, but I just don't really like it right now. We're just going to have to wait to see on it, but I'm cool with it. I couldn't think of anyone else. So I was like, Christian, that's fine. I also like the whole idea of outworking everyone. It's a cool little t-shirt there. And so I'm cool with it. I'm all right.
I think they're not going to give him Omega right away. I think Omega, in booking wise and in kayfabe wise, they're going to make him run the gauntlet. He might have to go through like Luke Gallows first, maybe Carl Anderson, get through the Good Brothers in singles matches, show that he can win, take a beating or two with the pile-on.
We might get another debut just to face him before Kenny.
Yeah, something like that. So
The one
Jeff Cobb kind of came in just to.
Jeff Cobb was one of my picks too. I was like, Jeff Cobb would have been rad.
Oh, I would have loved to see Jeff Cobb. Oh my God. But the one thing that I didn't want them to do, and I don't want them to do with Christian, is do what they're doing with Sting. And I know it's different because Sting is not, he can't go every week. But if they just keep bringing out Tony Schiavone to have interviews with Christian, I'm going to switch to USA Network every fucking time because it's the same thing over and over with Sting.
Well,
I won't get into it.
Tuesday now.
Well, I don't know now. You heard about the contract negotiations.
He's still going to switch it.
Well,
yeah, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Nice. Well, he's coming in. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is right. Hold on. I need to get my mic ready because now he's going to kill me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. He is a multi-time recording artist, a graduate from Cal State Dominguez Hills.
I need a broomstick right now.
The 2018
I've already done that.
Good.
It's LA Karaoke World Champion. He lives 1,977,000 miles from Winnipeg, Minnesota, Canada. He is the master disaster, the king of Sting, the man with the plan. He is Monique Mike.
By God, Lopez.
By God.
Whew. That's a mouthful for sure.
Of podcasting.
All right.
Man amongst insects.
Oh, of course. Thank you, sir.
All right. But yes, the Christian topic very briefly. So I'll go ahead and say then, Mike, you jump on in and just give your thoughts overall of Revolution and Christian and Ethan Page. So I just want to get the Christian one out of my chest. Christian, I was happy. I was okay with it. That was a safe pick, to be honest. And think about this now. If you're going to have Christian now feuding for the AEW World title, you also, and then you have Edge. Think about that. You have two best friends, two different organizations that are fighting for two different, main championship, caliber belts. It's amazing to see that. I'm happy for Christian. We all know the real reason why he went over there. A long-term future. He knows that though he'll be used, Vince won't use him. Vince won't have nothing to use him at all. Probably he's an ambassador, and that's it. It gets squashed by Randy Orton, maybe most likely. That's how big like Paul White went to in the first place. And it is unfortunate. But like I said, overall, I'm very happy for him. And then overall, I cannot wait to see what the future holds for Christian, and I believe he is going to put quality, instant, classic, massive matches is what I feel.
I think more gradual classic. I don't think the first match he has is going to be.
Well, no, he's Mr. Instant Classic. He's coming back to he came back with a TNA theme song days. So yeah, he is able to go. He has age is only a number. He's
No,
able
I understand that, but I mean, like, he hasn't had a full match, and the Royal Rumble was kind of not, I consider, like a full match, but let him get his breath under him.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's doing the workouts with wherever they're at.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's working out with Jerry Lynn, which would be smart.
Mhm.
You know, just, I don't think his Classic's going to be his first match. I think it's going to be somewhere within 6 months to a year. It'll probably happen though, just not right away.
Ivan, you mentioned the theme song though. Bringing in the TNA theme song was, that alone, I am happy to have
Me too.
Christian. But
I was really happy. I was really stoked. I was so happy about that. So I'm gonna let Money Mike take the floor very briefly about his overall thoughts about Revolution and these two debuts that occurred. Well, 3, because the one behind Mr. Matt Cattle's over there.
That matters the most.
That matters the most.
I'll start with that one. I'll start with Maki Ito. Totally unexpected. It's not like Christian, where you heard rumblings that he could have been a possibility. This came out as a complete surprise, and a welcome surprise to me, because she is very entertaining. I don't know if you guys have talked about Dynamite yet, but in her introduction during Dynamite,
We'll get into that.
she started singing. The music cut off because there was action in the ring, but she kept on going and
Through the carnage. What's up,
And,
Alexa?
she agrees, obviously, right? But yeah, so that was Maki Ito. So that thumbs up on that. Ethan Page, I'm not too familiar with, to be honest. So I look forward to seeing more of his in-ring skills and all that in the next few months. Christian Cage, I'm part of a group on Facebook, AEW related, and a lot of people complained about it, saying, "Oh, it should have been a bigger name like Brock Lesnar or CM Punk or The Rock, right?" But the problem with that is that, sure, okay, right, bigger names, oh wow, big surprise, big pop, right? But that it dies there. It doesn't go beyond that.
Ooh,
because
flash of
okay,
hand.
yes, that's it. You're not going to have these people every week. John Cena, he's out there making movies. He's got Fast 9 to promote. He's not going to be an active member of the roster as much as you would want him to. That's just not going to happen. WWE has been known to do the big moments and deliver something big, but it dies there. It's like, for example, I could think of so many examples, but the moment that exists or the moment that shocks you and everything that follows that up falls completely flat. We've seen it so many times done by WWE. So I'm glad that AEW did not do that. We can expect more from Christian. We can expect matches.
I like that point of view, because that is
Yes,
for sure, that's a great point of view.
So definitely, I am all for Christian Cage. I'm on board, and I definitely look forward to what happens next.
Definitely.
Yes, yeah.
All right. So, because Mr. CK1 has a meeting in a couple minutes, so he wants to give his thoughts overall of Dynamite, and then we'll go ahead and discuss it ourselves.
I can make it cohesive while I got 11 minutes, so I can probably hammer some of this out pretty efficiently.
Okay.
So I have the card right here that kind of helps me out here. I don't know which one of these were first. I actually think the Matt Jackson, Ray Phoenix match was first. Is that correct? Yeah, that's
correct. Yes.
Goddamn, I said this just a second ago about Ray Phoenix on Revolution, and I'm going to say it again, man. If you were just a fan of Ray Phoenix, but weren't really paying attention to him, he is starting to shine bright like a diamond in these singles matches. Clean win over Matt Jackson. Hitting some crazy spots. I'll say this about the Scorpion Sky match too, but they have no right having these level of good matches on free TV, or at least basic cable TV. These are this match and the Scorpio Sky Darby Allin match were better than most of the matches on Revolution. And I said earlier, Mike, that Revolution didn't answer a lot of questions I had, left something to be desired. But this Dynamite, in my opinion, it either made up for it or at least it satiated the craving I had that Revolution was supposed to fill. They don't have a lightweight title. They don't have anything below the TNT title. So I don't know exactly where they're pushing Ray and Pentagon in these singles matches. I don't know what direction they're going to go. I still hope and think and fan fiction believe that they're going to do a trios title at some point, because they are still sort of culminating series of 3-people teams like Lucha Underground did. You have Jungle Express, whatever, sorry. Death Triangle. We'll talk about what happened later in the main event. But there's a Dark Order. There's a lot of trios teams. There's no reason they can't make that a title thing.
Mm-hmm.
But with these singles matches, man, I think maybe they just want to try them out in singles and see what happens.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see Pentagon versus Cody Rhodes. Holy shit, because Cody can go, man. People don't really talk much about how good Cody is. The squash that he had against, I don't even know what his name was.
I don't even know either. I didn't catch his name.
Beat him in 25 seconds for the figure 4. I don't know if that was some kind of statement or something like that. Cody can wrestle, and I can't wait to see what happens in that Pentagon match. What did we have next? We had, I don't know what order these are in. It's like a weekly matchup guide, so I'll just go in the order that they're written. The Darby Allin Scorpion Sky match. Scorpio Sky. I know his name. Wow. Scorpio lost. He lost almost cleanly. It was definitely a clean surprise roll-up. He was going for like some spinny shit into a small package. I thought that was a very clever way to get a surprise win for Darby, who was getting smoked in every corner, literally. That baseball slide into a cutter was fantastic. The coffin drop into a powerbomb was fantastic. And then we finally got the official Scorpio Sky heel turn. Came after the match when he wouldn't release the hold. He looked at his hands like, what have I done? Oh, I like what I've done. I like that. Whether or not he separates from SCU, maybe they might write something in the storyline where Daniels and Kazarian are like, hey, man, what are you doing? That's not like you, man. You should hang out with us. We think you're starting to lose focus. And he's like, fuck you guys. I'm going to go for the title. I think that's probably what they're going to do. Ethan Page and Lee Johnson was just a showcase for Ethan Page. Moving on to the women's 6-woman match. We definitely have a click. We definitely have a new respect army between Baker, Ito, Rose, like I mentioned, Vicky Guerrero, and Reba, Rebel. Can't wait to see where that goes. Maki Ito's already losing, though. That's like her second match in AEW. She's 0-2, so I don't know if they're trying to just use her as a tool to build up like Rio and Thunder Rosa or what, but she needs to start winning if she's going to be relevant. Tony interviews Sting. Yeah, I don't know where Sting's going after this. A singles match versus Ricky Starks, maybe. That should probably be over with. That whole Sting Darby Cage. Cage needs to move on to bigger opponents.
Lance Archer.
Yeah, Lance Archer for sure. I love Jake the Snake, man. Jake the Snake just kind of right in the back, kind of just being a smartass is fantastic. Yeah, because Christian Cage came in and essentially, in my opinion, took Cage's. Well, fuck. First of all, when are we going to have Ethan Page and Adam Page versus Christian Cage and Brian Cage? Is that a thing? We're going to have a Cage versus Cage with Page in the corner in a cage match?
In the Rage in a Cage match?
In the Rage in a Cage? Yeah. It's gonna have to happen.
You forgot, like, there's so many other things that you have
The
to involve
redundancy
in
of the
that.
names, man. These are all
because you
like,
need
these are names
Sage.
these are names that you give your character and create a fighter or create a wrestler in the old SmackDown games. They're like the pre-listed ones where the announcer will say the name if you pick it. And so Christian Cage, Brian.
No, Chris, what I'm going to do is when I meet them, I'm going to have some sage spices and we're going to take a picture of it like us holding the sage spice.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Christian Cage, I got sage for you, you know,
Yeah.
and then I'll be dressed as a mage while I'm
Seth
getting them the
Gargis,
sage.
that's who Cody jobbed out. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. We got the Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy arcade match set up, the lumberjack match. That absolutely has to be the end of it.
Yes.
That has to be like, I don't know if it's a tag match, but Chuck's probably going to pin Kip. That has to be the end of it.
Yeah.
We have the Butcher, the Bunny, and the Blade, who I love, in the Hardy Party, which now you have 2 tag teams under one umbrella. Now you're going to have the Private Party. They're going to have issues with this because they're all going for the tag titles. I don't like it that much. I like Butcher and the Bunny and the Blade on their own thing. They're dark. They're kind of evil. And then you got like, you know, Private Party were kind of fun, loving, colorful. It's not. It's Clash of Personalities. We'll see what happens with that. I don't even know if I like the Money Matt Hardy gimmick. It's definitely taken over where Brody Lee left off, where he was kind of doing the Vince thing, kind of making fun of Vince. And this is kind of what I think they're kind of making fun of, maybe even Michael Hayes a little bit, the road agency of WWE's main roster.
I like that. That's great analogy. But I didn't thought about that. Okay.
All right. And I think what we got left is
You already know.
the inner city. That'd be great. I think Los Boricuas and Private Party and I don't know, and Mike Lopez. Wow. I don't hate this. I don't love it, and I'll get into why I don't love it per se. I don't hate it. I did think this whole time it was going to be what was happening. But I thought it was going to be Sammy and MJF were in cahoots the whole time, and they were going to either take over Inner Circle or separate entirely and become a new heel faction by themselves. I thought the whole time it was going to be them because it was so obvious how much they hated each other. They were constantly at each other's throats. It was so obvious that they were going to double swerve. But MJF kind of had the cards laid out. Last week, we talked about the Sean Spears joining FTR with Tully, and we talked about who's the fourth. We brought up names like, I love Tully, Tessa Blanchard. That was my pick. That would have been so sick to have the first women horsewoman. I don't know what I just said. I hope it sounded like it made sense. But I couldn't think of anyone else. Obviously, Arn Anderson came out a little bit at the end of last week and was like, "4? Huh? Are we a thing?" It could have been Cody. Cody might have done, a heel turn, kind of joined. That would have been kind of cool. Instead, we got this big shift where MJF was running the whole show, and now he is the fourth person in this essentially elite horseman, I guess someone online had called it. They did not refer
Brother Bo from Dirty Heels. He's the one
that's who it was.
The elite horseman.
The elite horseman, which
Dirty
I don't
Heels
hate
podcast.
per se.
Shout out to them.
But the horsemen have always been about respect and hard work before they're, except for, Ric Flair, to be honest, is definitely a dick. That's the character. So I guess they're putting MJF in the Flair position. Now that I say it out loud, it makes sense. But they've always been a little bit more respectful than the MJF character, who's the greatest heel in the past 30 years. God rest in peace, Kurt Hennig. This is it. This is what it is. It's the new Horseman with Tully, who still is pulling off moves. He did the double spike pile driver. Awesome. I don't know where Arn fits in because Arn came out and kind of did like, am I in on this? Because him and Tully were in the original Horseman. MJF going back to singles. Who knows what they're doing with Sean Spears? Not real out of mic time. We have tag team and the FTR. But the Inner Circle are now officially faces, I guess, even though they've kind of been the anti-hero this whole time. You love to boo them and you booed to love them. I love Inner Circle. I never liked MJF in it to begin with, so I'm glad it's technically over. And we're definitely going to get a 4-on-4. We're definitely going to get, Wardlow had a clean win over Jake Hager a couple weeks ago. But we're still going to get this giant collision of the biggest factions AEW has. And then that has to be over, and I don't know where to go. Much better show than Revolution, hands down. If I gave Revolution a 7, this is a fucking 10 for a TV time show.
All right, I love it. So you see, basically, these are the closing chapters happen in Revolution. These are the new chapters that have just begun. And
the answers that I wanted to get out of Revolution,
you got it.
I got it. Dynamite, except for the Darby Allin Sting thing, which they didn't even address each other. Essentially,
Right.
Sting just said, "Oh, Darby's a good kid," and then they moved on to whatever else he said. I wasn't even paying attention.
Right.
And then we obviously got Christian Cage challenging for the title for Kenny Omega. That can't happen soon, otherwise that chapter is going to be over quicker than you opened it.
Because you have Eddie Kingston versus
Eddie Kingston promo. God damn it, Eddie Kingston promo. Oscar goes to Eddie Kingston, man. Oh man.
Don't forget John Moxley too, man. Moxley too.
Moxley knows his place. He knows when not to talk and let the room breathe. And Kingston does not stop breathing. He does not put periods between his sentences. But it makes it real, makes it raw. We're gonna get Kenny Omega and Eddie Kingston versus the Good Brothers. And that might be the go home for Moxley. I don't know when he's gonna, take his vacation if he even takes it. Maybe it was a complete oversight by all of us that he was ever going to take this, much earned 9 to 12 month stay at home.
I was thinking maybe he's delaying the vacation a little bit because of what happened at Revolution, and this is their way to kind of let things die down, and then then you'll have your payoff where he can take his vacation. Whoa, my voice cracked. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
But no, I definitely agree. Could be that, but yes, we'll find out, see what happens. But yes, CK1.
And last thing I want to bring up is every week on Dynamite there is a line of the week. There's I don't know if it's scripted, if it's improv. There's something always said. Last week it was turkey tits. I shit myself laughing. I could not scream loud enough at how funny that was. A couple weeks ago, Tony Schiavone said something about Impact. He goes like, last time I worked, I worked for Impact 25 years ago, and that was the last time I ever showed up on a wrestling program. I was like, bro, he just shut it down, bro. There was something MJF said a couple weeks before that was hilarious. Something about drug dealers. He said something like, why don't you go back and sell drugs?
69 me, Kenny.
That's the line. I
69. All 69.
That's the line. How did
Kenny.
you know that was line of the week? Was Kenny, come 69 me? I was like,
yeah, Kenny.
He's saying
you're gonna
that.
69 me, Kenny. That's next level consciousness, of course.
It's so Attitude Era. It's so DX. I love it. I just can't believe it. I was like, then in my head, I'm like, oh, I knew exactly what he was talking about. It's not about Eddie.
You're
Kingston.
dry humping Eddie Kingston to dry hump John Moxley in the middle of the ring. I
was blown away by how funny that was, man. Because he's
while you watch sparklers go off, you dry hump John Moxley.
Such a serious, monotone character that he just. I was dumbfounded. And that's pretty much my last thoughts right there. Is I wasn't worried about the whatever reason the botch was at Revolution. I didn't think that was going to be like I said, I compared it to the Titus World Slide, Mike, earlier. This is their one major botch they've had in 16 months. It's not going to make people change the channel. And this Dynamite made up for it. And I got some new questions going into next week. And I can't wait to see what the next pay-per-view brings, because I know that they're going to have to top it.
Yeah.
So they always do their best to top the previous show. They've been consistently better and better. And
Chris,
this is the one time they went back once.
Your thoughts on Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, no DQ? It's a lights out match. It is.
Well, I mean, yeah, for sure. But we know why it's no DQ, because they're both sort of in factions. Thunder Rosa, she's hanging out with
Riho and all them.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be just a firefight, essentially. Not literally, but like
it was a firefight.
I love Boondock Saints, man. Love you. I know what you're talking about.
Yup.
Yeah.
It was Armageddon over here.
You must be the huge freaking guy. Yeah, man. Even I don't want to say I've never been impressed by Lana Rose, but like her work ethic lately, she's putting them over. She's putting the smaller. I'm like, oh, they make it look like she's getting her ass beat. Like she took a bump from I forget who it was, might have been Rio, where she like actually bumped. I'm like, oh shit, she's selling. She's not the indestructible beast that she's led out to believe, and I kind of appreciate that. And now Nyla's on my roster, on my radar as a much higher quality wrestler than a lot of people give her credit for. Dare I say, I go back to our top 5 last week, I would respectfully put her on my top 5 underrated wrestlers. But those are my thoughts, man. And I do have to bounce. I got a band meeting of sorts. Anthony, great meeting you, man. I watch your content. Thanks for the shout out.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, man. We do top 5 every week. If you want to get on one of those, talk to the man with the plan, Ivan.
I will surely be in contact with you, Ivan, because those top 5s, I need to get in on that one.
Yeah, even if it's up to Ivan, let you pick what the content is for that week. We want to get some guests in with curated content where they can pick their top 5 and we all have to respond. So
hell yeah.
You guys, I will see you guys tomorrow with top 5 most underrated tag teams.
Okay.
Cool. Peace.
All right.
Too sweet.
Whoa, man, that was like an hour of Chris' show. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah,
it was his show pretty much. But hey, he was in a hurry, so I mean, it's okay. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was a CK1 director. Okay. Well, let me go ahead and Dynamite. Now I want to go ahead and touch bases. I think very briefly. I think we should. I really want to get to the point that what what was the most shocking one, that new opening chapter. So I'll go with our guest, Anthony. Break it down for us. I mean, overall, your thoughts about Dynamite and what was the most shocking one that you never expected, and that now this new chapter what got you intrigued. So which storyline is one that's getting you now more intrigued now with these new leads you're going?
Yeah, I mean, Dynamite, like Chris said, definitely made up for Revolution. I gave Dynamite like a 6 or a 7 with everything taken into consideration. This show I'd have to give like a 9. I thought it was a really good, and for the context of it, to be a show to make up for the other show, I think it did it perfectly. I think it was a good way to kind of tie in the holes of Revolution, including, of course, the final scene with the exploding ring. Eddie Kingston did everything he could to really save that. And talking about mental health was a really big thing for him. And I really like that he incorporated that into the story. So I think that was a really good thing there. Overall, it was if you're talking the best thing on the show, besides Maki Ito, because that was just an amazing segment, MGC, I will tell you that when I saw that comment about, comparing Maki Ito to being culturally impacted like China, I was like, this guy is nuts. But I don't think she's there yet, but you have definitely won me over, and I'm a fan of her. I think it'll take some time to adjust the TV and, the whole Dynamite show as it is, but she's definitely on my radar as one of the top women right now.
Wait till you see her acting chops. You're seeing. Wait till you see her in movies.
I mean, hopefully we don't get a lot of those microphone bumps that we got on Dynamite, but
it's like her and MJF. Whatever scripts you could write for them, start writing them now.
Yeah. But so besides Maki Ito, of course, I think the biggest thing was the final segment. I mean, I don't really know what to expect from it right now. People are immediately calling it the next 4 horsemen, but there are 5 guys, and all 5 of them are really impactful guys, including Wardlow. And if anything, this will be Wardlow's way to break away and ultimately become, a top star, which I think that he could be after he gets a haircut, because I hate Wardlow's hair. It's a nitpick thing. Can't stand it. But anyways,
all right.
I think this is going to it's going to lead to a 5-on-5 between both factions, maybe blood and guts. We were supposed to see that match in last March. So this might be, or they might go Stadium Stampede again, and it might just become a thing, for cinematic stuff, because we are still in this, cinematic era of wrestling. So we might go with that. I don't think it'll be a regular 5-on-5, but I do think that it'll finally end this whole Inner Circle MJF saga that we've been getting. And I'm looking forward to this team. Like I said, I don't think it's the next 4 horsemen yet. I think it's, kind of being built as it. But I think there's a lot of things that you could do with this instead of just branding it, 4 horsemen. So I think this is also a good way to finally turn Jericho face, because, with everyone singing this song, and, you've kind of you get little hints that he's turning face, finally just to do it. It's gonna benefit AEW in a lot of ways, just to have that face legend like Jericho on the roster. And eventually to get Jericho versus MJF would be a really good match, even though we saw it already, but now it's definitely with, better circumstances. So, it's still early to say. I think the last segment was a really good way to put over this new team. So I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from here. As far as everything else on the show, I mean, I already mentioned the stuff with Eddie Kingston, Christian, and Kenny. I've already talked about that. Putting a legend part-timer in this spot already is, applying the logic to WWE, not something that I'm too fond with, but depending on how they work it in, it could be a really good showing for both Christian to finally get a good match under his belt in his return, and also to ultimately put Kenny over with a legend rub like Christian. So I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with that. This whole stuff with Scorpio Sky, I wasn't really, I'm not really too big on, just because they haven't made me care about Scorpio Sky. To put him on Dynamite and to have him in these matches is one thing, but now you have to to have him on Dark in these matches is one thing. That's not going to make me care about someone like Scorpio Sky, who I should be caring about. So hopefully with this new heel persona with him, I ultimately will care about him, and they will, put him in a spot where more interest will be drawn, and to tie in SCU and everything like that. I think it could be a cool dynamic with Scorpio Sky as a heel. Besides that, I think that was mainly the show. Phoenix and Matt Jackson, great match. Exactly what you would expect. Penta versus Cody. It's going to be a banger of a match. I was more focused on NXT this week because I usually just base it on, the match card itself. What am I looking forward to most? And obviously NXT this week was stacked, and we'll get into that in part 2. But, it's always like, what am I focused more on this week? So this week it was NXT, but next week, full 2 hours, I will be on Dynamite, because there are so many good matches that are going to be happening. And Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa, the match that we should have got at Beach Break in the main event. That's a key thing in the main event slot. We should have gotten it, there. We're finally getting it here, and I'm very happy about it. This will be a way to ultimately close out that story, I feel, depending on what they do there. And this is also a really good step in the right direction for the women's division, because we've talked, we, as in the League of Extraordinary Podcasters, has talked extensively about how flawed the women's division has been ever since AEW start. But now with these signings like Maki Ito and, implementing matches like Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, the whole thing with the tournament, even though I would have done things a little differently, overall, they are definitely pushing women's wrestling a lot more than they have been. And from here, I think it's only going to go up. Are they going to take over as the best women's division in wrestling? No, I think they have a ways to go, to beat SmackDown's women's division, NXT, Impact, of course. So I think there's a ways to go to put them in the top women's division, title, but they're definitely taking some steps in the right direction, and they already beat Raw, and anyone can beat Raw, so we're good there. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm missing anything else from the show. You can let me know if I didn't really talk about anything that was big, but that's kind of what I got from the show, besides the NBA crowd chants being pumped in during Ethan Page's debut, which I was so upset about that.
Oh my goodness.
But, Shaq was taking over in the soundboard. He left the ambulance and he was found in the soundboard.
What's going on? There's me, Shaq.
What's going on here?
Your impersonation's godly, Anthony. My God. That's the best.
Oh man. I mean, that's all I really got for Dynamite. Really good show, and of course, I'm looking forward to this next week.
Definitely.
Cool. Yeah.
Money Mike, the floor is yours, sir.
Oh man. I called it. Go back last week.
What are you talking
I
about?
called it.
About what?
You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You know. I remind our viewers to know.
Yes, please. So Kenny Omega picked up a hammer right before the cameras went on. You can tell he never lifts. He has never lifted a hammer in probably ever. I called it. I was like, this guy looks like he does not know what he's doing with tools.
Safety,
lo and behold,
safety mask off.
You should blame your manager here, Don Callis.
Yeah, there you go. And lo and behold, we got what we got at Revolution.
He doesn't need a mask. I'm like, what?
Oh, you always need a mask, no matter what. But yes, so yeah, I called it. I knew that something was going to happen, right? So there you go. The sparkles. Honestly, it didn't upset me. It didn't. I didn't feel disappointed by it. The match itself, because that's what we're there for. We're there for the match. The match itself was entertaining. I enjoyed it, start to finish. And some sparkles are not gonna make me hate AEW, right? It's just, it was what it was, and now we know to keep Omega away from tools. There you go. But yeah, and let's see, the Sting segment, I think Lance Archer will be if they decide to go in that direction, that'll be an interesting feud. It'll be definitely something huge for Archer, and for someone like Sting, having a big guy there, I feel like he's had really good matches with big guys, and so yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that. And I know Chris has mentioned Lance Archer to be one of his guys that he sees being one of the top guys in the future for AEW, and apparently the company feels the same way. So definitely good stuff there. As for the women's, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to next week's match with Rosa and Baker. I do like when the matches end up, or like they don't get along, and it has to lead to a stipulation. It has to build up to that. And yes, we did not get that at Beach Break, but we're getting it next week. It's been building towards that, right? And that's why I'm not a big fan of pay-per-views being called by stipulations like Hell in a Cell or Elimination Chamber, because it has to be built up to it. Like there's no other choice but to put them in there, or in that kind of a match. That it should be that. It shouldn't be a pay-per-view. Anywho,
Definitely.
So yeah. So let's see how that goes. It'll be interesting, and I'm glad that they're doing this with a women's match. I feel like there needs to be more stipulations in women's matches. I feel like there's a lack of that. So next week should be good. Let's see, what else am I forgetting from Dynamite?
Well, okay, you're forgetting the opening match between.
I found it interesting that they mentioned about how few matches Matt Jackson has had in his solo career, right?
Mm-hmm.
So great match, entertaining. Ray Phoenix, awesome, man. I wish I would have seen him sooner, but he's here now, and like myself, a lot of other people are watching and are being exposed to these new wrestlers, and Phoenix is definitely one of those highlight reel guys, so I always enjoy seeing his matches. And on a side note, I really like how AEW does like weekly or kind of weekly events, right? Like next week is going to be the St. Patrick's Day, whatever, I forgot what exactly what it was called, but they have Beach Break, they have all these other names, right? And it gives it more of a special feeling, like like it's a special episode. And it happens often, but not too often, where it's lost its specialness, right? So
Definitely.
I'm definitely on board for next week.
And what about you're missing the Inner Circle, MJF?
Oh, how could I forget? See, yeah, it goes to show there's a lot to talk about. Yes, Inner Circle. Some people liked it, some people didn't. From what I've known, from around in people in my inner circle, right? I do think that it was the best move. Why? Like Anthony mentioned earlier, people were singing along the Jericho theme, and that's not something that usually happens with heels, right? It's not a heel thing. So I feel like it's gotten to the point where they had no choice but to turn Jericho face somehow. And I'm sure that Jericho is really enjoying working with Santana Ortiz, Hager, Sammy Hager, right? So why not turn all of them face? And that's exactly what happened. So smart move. I really don't think anybody saw that coming. And I really find it interesting that MJF is now leading FTR, Wardlow, of course, and Sean Spears. Yeah. So I'm very intrigued about this group. It looks cool already to me. Yeah. I did not like the segment itself. I like the idea of everything that's going on, but something about the segment lacked something. I don't know if it was the crowd or a pop or a reaction.
It kind of seemed
Maybe-
all over the place for me. I don't know why. It was just a lot of things happening.
Yeah, something happened or something was missing. So
Yeah.
but again, the whole idea of it, top notch.
All right. MGC, floor is yours.
Here we go. In reference to Jofo. I wonder if maybe I kind of want to bounce off, maybe go in reverse, maybe a little bit, or just out of order.
Go ahead.
A little bit in response to that, I've been waiting for kind of like a new, like major heel faction to kind of take over from the Inner Circle, because all over they don't seem as like vicious as I've wanted them to be. Like despite like that attack on Papa Buck, that of course I made fun of that. If I took the piss out of that because it's like they emptied a ketchup bottle on him or something. So. But like when I think about that, because I'm watching New Japan simultaneously, I was kind of like I had my fingers crossed for Tama Tonga and Jay White to just run in and start attacking like whoever on the roster, kind of carve out that new space for a new top heel faction, be like vicious, nasty, street. All of those things is kind of what I was hoping for. Maybe like terrorize the Bucks, terrorize FTR, but now FTR's in that position of being that new top heel tag team. They're more cohesive. They're good at being serious and selling like their aggression and, taking the fun out of it. Taking the fun out of it in terms of like happy-go-lucky, being fancy, but it's not to rule out that Guerrillas of Destiny would never show up. So I guess this could be even another side of the coin, because like if you compare it to like what goes on in New Japan, you think of Chaos, Suzuki-gun, and Los Ingobernables de Japón and Bullet Club. They're all mostly either started out or kind of like halftime. Like I guess three of those started out as heel factions. And come from betrayals. One of them is sort of, still Bullet Club is still a heel faction, remains so. So you could still kind of play with that. This might be, AEW's rather than what would you say? Well, rather than Four Horsemen, I would say that's more like, the Bullet Club, because of the number. I guess maybe the number of members might increase over time, because like Wardlow and the FTR, and I like that they're all wearing black shirts more or less. Maybe they could kind of play off other things, with the name,
right.
So and Jericho's pretty underrated as a babyface overall. He does flourish as a heel, but I really, during the Alliance Invasion angle, I was always cheering for him to win. He does a great job as babyface, and he's really kind of fun, like kind of the babyface who makes fun of the heel is kind of like where Jericho kind of flourishes at the same time. Jericho against Triple H, so we could probably see, MJF kind of fall into that Triple H versus Jericho role a little bit here in the time being, because there's going to be the revenge match, and like you said, Anthony, I'm kind of hoping for that blood and guts to kind of come up. There's no reason it couldn't. You could have plenty of blood, as long as you wear your mask and keep your distance.
But yeah,
I think the other segment, Pentagon and Cody, that's it's a new side. I've been wanting to see more. Once again, give the AEW's doing more of what I want. More people are cutting promos. More people are getting on the mic. I popped so much the second Pentagon is like, "Hey Cody, shut up." I was like, "Yes, finally." Like if you're gonna antagonize them, you should get on the mic, show me your villainness. Like the more I'd say the microphone earns you title shots, because as long as you get the crowd interested, and as long as you show you could be nasty, as long as you could show your character, then you definitely earned it. That's what MJF does. And Pentagon just showing like, hey, you won't be able to hold your child in your arms by the time I'm done with you. I'm like, yes. A little bit of that. Scorpio Sky being vicious, him kind of showing, they've teased that a little bit, his kind of, everybody's kind of bringing out that that, you know, Ivan, I'll say the ruthless aggression.
That's right.
Back to that. And I guess some other ones would be, you know, I kind of wish Christian had some mic time because he's really good at that. It's too bad they're just kind of playing him off as a strong silent. But I guess the other one, you know, Eddie Kingston on the microphone. I've been wanting to see Eddie Kingston versus Kenny. Like, I wanted that to be, you know, what I thought it was going to be the other way around with Eddie Kingston with the title and taking the title off of Moxley, and then Kenny being like in a babyface position while Eddie was still a heel. You know, that's kind of what I thought it was going at. They're still going with this angle, and I'm kind of what I think when if we go into the archives a few weeks back, it was like Eddie was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't play video games when I was on the streets. Like, see these hands? See, like, I thought that's, you know, where, you know, I thought that's where he was gonna go when Eddie was still like full on heel, more or less, right. You know." And now I'm going back to Maki Ito, and
best for last. You gotta be best for last.
I'm putting the best for last here. You know, I think once again, please announce her from Fukuoka, Japan. You know, the greatest city in the world. You know, announcer coming from, because, you know, I'd never thought in a million years I would hear Japanese lyrics on American television, you know, and sung on American television, a J-pop song, you know, sung by Toki Wakaru, and, you know, she's singing the lyrics and you know, in a sentence, you know, Vicky Guerrero with the kendo stick to the throat of Shido while you hear that song being sung. Only
Such a
on
fucking weird visual right there.
Right?
And the best thing was what JR was saying during it is like, man, if I had written the book after I'd seen this moment, it would definitely have its own chapter in my book. And like also like JR on commentary was like, well, Excalibur, I bet you don't have a problem ordering at an Asian diner. You don't have too much trouble with that. Like that was, I like that phrase. Like hearing his kind of like reaction, hearing JR's reaction to Maki Ito is probably like what I enjoyed the most. And of course she's headlining. I don't know if we're talking about that in pro wrestling news. She's headlining AEW Elevation against Riho. Yeah. You know, I guess that's this coming Tuesday, I believe. Monday. Elevation's on Monday. That's wow.
Correct. We'll talk about that in part 2. So
the best wrestling on Monday.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
You know, and you know, the undisputed Maki army, maybe is that what I could call it, you know. Just a little bit of all of it.
So I imagine it's gonna be like Maki Ito, right?
You gotta throw up like a
boom.
You know, soft voice, you know, like, oh my god.
Is she Bobby Fish or is she Kyle O'Reilly?
Nah,
no,
don't compare. No, don't do that. No, she's Roderick Ito.
Roderick Ito. You know, she's air guitaring.
We already know that.
I imagine them like I hope those 4 have segments together though, like in like with the roof down and those 6 those 6 gals riding together with a top down in the car, you know. Vicky Guerrero speaking Spanish, Maki Ito speaking Japanese, you know.
Maki's gonna teach them all the song. They come out the next week, they're all singing her song.
That's what I want. I'm praying for it. I hope that's what it is.
Oh my god, that'll be amazing if that does happen.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I'm not gonna go through it overall because I want to go ahead and save time for part 2. But I want to go ahead. So my thoughts about Dynamite overall was amazing. I'm glad of the fact that new chapters has begun. Do like one thing that people needs to keep an eye on too that is intriguing to see. Now we're gonna see Pac for the first time, even though it's a tag team now feuding with the Bucks. We've never seen the Pac and versus the Bucks. Neither one of them, and same with competition. So this is something that it intrigues me, and I like that opening amazingly. And overall, and with Maki Ito, of course, we'll talk about that in part 2. This Pentagon, I love this way he's going back to his old school days, back to singles competitive. I love it. That's when you're in a trios, that's how it's supposed to be. I love it to be that way, to be honest. Like how we see, like the New Day. We see the New Day as well, for example. Okay, Kofi's going for the belt for the WWE title. You still have Big E and Xavier for the tag, or they can switch it off. If they can do that like AEW is putting it off, I love it because that's what it's supposed to be, in my opinion. You're giving everyone else a shot, so why not let it go all around? And of course the main event, that's the switcheroo. I mean, everybody thought it was going to be Scorpio Sky when he turned heel. Everybody assumed, okay, it could be Scorpio joining with this group, with Tony Blatchford and FTR and Shawn Spears. I wouldn't mind that either. It would have been great. But, this makes more sense with MJF. Does makes a lot more sense because of the way his character, his arrogance, combines with FTR's, that's your Arn and Tully there back in the days. There goes your MJF, your Ric Flair ones. And, of course, you have Shawn Spears, who could be your Barry Windham. He's your Barry Windham one. So, yeah, it's not a comparison too much about, the Four Horsemen. They're their own, and I feel like this group, I'm going to do wonders, and I'm looking forward to seeing this feud because now, not only that, we finally get to see Santana and Ortiz FTR.
Yes.
Remind you that Santana and Ortiz are underrated. They should
heavily,
and
1,000%.
Exactly. They should be in the title picture by now. But now
I talk about the word underrated all the time. I made a whole fucking episode about the word. They are underrated, underused, underutilized. You name it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Definitely.
I think one of the matches in the Indies that I'll definitely tell people to check out is the War Kings versus Santana and Ortiz. And I think there was like two other tag teams that were involved in that. I mean, I guess related to NWA Power, I think Crimson and Jax from the War Kings will be appearing on NWA Power. And once again, that the doors are all open. We could see anybody turn up, Santana and Ortiz were in that 4-way tag team match. So many greats.
Yeah, and then not only that, I mean, was this specific feud that we're going to see? We're not going to see Shawn Spears get more TV time as well. No more on Dark. Now Dynamite. Good for him. And now we get to see more Hager and Wardlow. I would like to see that. We're for sure we're going to see Sammy, MJF, but of course we're going to see Jericho and MJF. But I'm liking this. And not only that, we're already seeing that with the Matt Hardy one as well, with Dark Order and Matt Hardy and his new crew. So a lot of group, like, you know what? You called it, Anthony. Bloods and Guts could be the next event. Now this is already opening, especially up in Florida. It makes a lot of sense of these factions created.
Because it makes a lot more sense than doing, because that kind of ties into what I was talking about, them not being right away the Four Horsemen, because there's 5 of them. And I like that there's a difference from the Four Horsemen because, you had the Four Horsemen, it was just 4 of them. But for someone like MJF, if you have a guy who goes through, FTR, Shawn Spears, and gets through all of them, you still got big guy back here, Wardlow, that you got to deal with. Yeah. And going down the story, I don't really know if Wardlow's going to still playing second fiddle to MJF. So maybe that's your way to break off Wardlow from MJF and finally have him be the big guy. And then you can do like the Four Horsemen. But for now, I feel like Wardlow's going to be a very important piece to this faction. And really, whatever they do with them, I'm looking forward to it because this is going to be it's one of the more intriguing stories that I've seen from them. Yeah. And this is coming from someone who didn't like when MJF was added and Wardlow were added to Inner Circle. I just wasn't feeling it just because of how much they've been dragging it. But now for this payoff to ultimately come to a head, and now you have this 5-on-5 situation, I think it, suits it very well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100%. And it does make sense with that because with a lot of these factions happening, of course, I hope they do, man. And hopefully you heard it here first from the Titantron. Anthony, he said it here first.
Here.
He called it out. Bloods and Guts, if it might happen in fruition, you never know. So stick around, ladies and gentlemen. Part 1 just ended. We'll go ahead and part 2 very shortly. Part 2 will be discussing about pro wrestling news a little bit. There's not much to talk about, but NXT, because there's a lot to talk about in NXT.
Yes, sir.
Sure. And then we'll talk about, Matt and I will discuss New Japan and update on that. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. And right at the end of this video, make sure you click on the next one, which is part 2, and enjoy our official sponsor. We'll be right back.